I will say this. Most people that are Dallas Stars fans know about the goal song. It's called Puck Off by Pantera. And if you don't know, Pantera is the classic metal band, one of the great metal bands of, what would you say, of all time?
Depends on who you ask. I'd say yeah.
But really a famous, internationally well-known metal band. And they wrote and produced the Dallas Stars goal song, which is really cool. A lot of times an NHL team will take a song that's already been made and try to make it their own. But this was actually written, produced, and given to this guy, Craig Ludwig, for the purpose of being the Dallas Stars goal song. The actual creation of it isn't the story I wanted you to tell, although you can share any part of that if you want. It's the story you've told me before, but I want everybody to hear that maybe doesn't know, of how it became so important to the 90s Dallas Stars that you were a part of in the locker room.
Well, I think like any sport, you're superstitious. And if you do something, if you drive to the game a certain route and you win the game, you keep going that same way. You have a bad game, you take a different route. For us, you know, when Vinny and Dime put that song together, our music was getting a little stale, and it was the warm-up music. And so I asked Vinny, and, you know, is there anything you guys could do? And so we went over to Vinny's house, and him and Dime overnight made this thing. And so what happened was we played that song before we went out for warm-ups every game throughout the playoffs. And so
did you start doing it for playoffs? Is that when it first came out?
I think we started a couple weeks before we introduced it, as far as when we came onto the ice, you know, just in regular season.
Was that for warm-up or for the start of the game?
That was the start of the game, but we always played it in our room before we went out.
So that was like your pump-up song before you went out?
Yeah, exactly, I guess. I don't know.
Whatever you want to call it.
Whatever got us through from the night before. So that's kind of what it was. So anyways, it just became a tradition, and things were rolling in the playoffs. And then we got into St. Louis, and there was a big storm. And I asked our trainer, Smitty, and I said, you know, where's the disc? And a lot of you listeners may not know what a disc is anymore, but we didn't have it. He goes, I forgot to pack it. And I'm like, we forgot to pack it. That's no bueno.
That was not what you said to him at the time.
Exactly.
Right?
I said, what the fuck, Smitty, is exactly what it is.
That was a very gentle version of that.
And everybody else heard that. And they didn't. We don't have the song. So made a couple calls. Trainer made a couple calls. Got a hold of Vinny. He actually had a courier. This was in the morning skate is when this happened.
So this is at 11 o'clock?
Yeah, about 10:30 in the morning.
In St. Louis?
In St. Louis. We were on the road. And so Vinny took care of it. He got a courier and all this kind of stuff, and there was bad weather. Ultimately, we're all sitting there waiting for this thing to show up. Hitchcock comes walking in before we go out onto the ice for warm-up, and we're all just sitting there. And he looks at me, and he calls me over, and he goes, what the fuck are you guys doing? I said, Hitch, we're waiting for the song. He goes, what are you talking about? You guys got to get going. I said, no. I said, nobody's going out. I said, apparently it's in town. It's going to be here. Ultimately, it made it. And
how did you know it was going to be? Like
we were getting reports from people that were...
But you're not on your iPhone because they hadn't been invented yet. Well... So how was that?
Oh, and I don't know how the hell I was just getting
somebody passing you, like the trainers, they were giving you messages.
Were saying, hey, it's in a car and there's rain.
So somebody's calling some landline and they're just running it to you.
It was fucking carrier pigeon then. I don't know what it was. I have no clue how it was, but I knew what was going on, okay? And I was relaying it to the guys. And then I had to tell Hitch, and he goes, you guys get your ass. And they said, no. Anyway, I'm trying to keep this short. I know people are getting tired. So
we got plenty of time. Go for it.
So anyway, he ultimately got in. We popped it in, and we listened to maybe 10 seconds of it. And then we went on the ice, and then we finished the series off against St. Louis. So all's well that ends well. But, I mean, there was a lot more in between there. But it was a long day. I mean, from the morning skate to then, and there were more guys concerned about that song getting here than anything else. So,
That's
but again,
incredible.
that just tells you how superstitious sports guys are when things are going right and wrong.
I was going to say, like, that's the thing. Some people wonder why that happens is because... And don't let me put words in your mouth. You play it. I'm just the one that watches and talks about it. But it is hard to get yourself, even as a professional athlete, up and motivated for 82 games. They don't all mean the same, even if they're worth the same in the standings. And there are really the grinds, the dog days of the season. And so these little things can maybe help, if I'm saying it correctly, get you to that physical or mental state of playing your best hockey, and you try to replicate those routines and habits. Because if you go, well, I had a great game, I felt great tonight, I got to figure out how to do that again.
We are creatures of winning and losing, and hopefully it's more winning, and it's everything that goes into that. Like I said before, habits are what you repeatedly do. And when you're doing the same thing day in and day out and you're having success, you don't really change it. You change things When you lose one game and you want to tweak something, you might have won 5 in a row, but you want to tweak something. And these little things, external things, they come into play. And you watch the way guys tape their sticks and the way they wrap their knobs around and tie their skates. And I always do everything to this day. Everything goes on my left foot first. I will never, if I made a mistake.
How did that start?
I think it starts when you start playing and you had success in whatever you're doing. And you're like, oh man, this is what I did yesterday, and so I do it to this day when with our U18 team and we're traveling, and if for some reason we'll have vans once in a while instead of buses, and if we go and we lose one game, the other coach will drive this route and I'll drive a different route. I mean, is that, and the players are going, what are we doing? We're not following the other van. And you don't even try to explain it to them because they're not kind of where we were at the time. So it's just, again, there's things that I've done my entire life just because of having success when I was 16 or 22 in college.
It's amazing.